What do you think about men using a woman's dressing room at Macy's? We're going to be talking about it today on Faith and Freedom. I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action. And, of course, that's tongue-in-cheek. But, you know, the fact of the matter is, Matt, that's actually what's happening at Macy's. Liberty Counsel has been contacted by Natalie Johnson from San Antonio, Texas. And there she was confronted with something that any person would do the same thing. She saw a man leaving the women's fitting room, and when he tried to go back in, she politely said, "You can't go back in there. That's for women only." Right. He got very upset and said that Macy's was an LGBT-friendly store, and he demanded to see her manager. He complained to the manager, and to Natalie's surprise, I think to all of our listeners' surprise, the management took the side of this male cross-dresser, saying that, well, he has the right to go into any fitting room he wants to.
Yeah, people hear the acronym LGBT. That's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. The T is for transgender. These are people that either suffer from gender identity disorder, an APA recognized mental disorder, a man who somehow is so confused that he thinks he's a woman trapped in a man's body, or vice versa. And also there are cross-dressers who just get some kind of weird prurient kick out of dressing up in women's clothing. And so we don't know which category this gentleman falls under. Nonetheless, he was clearly a man trying to look like a woman. Going into the female locker rooms here, there are a number of issues. She absolutely did the right thing. You said something that anything would do, not necessarily anybody, any reasonable person would have done the same thing and said, "Excuse me, sir, these are the women's fitting rooms. You cannot go in here." But this is that Orwellian kind of, theater of the absurd that we have entered in this day and age, where political correctness says that a man can dress up like a man and go into the women's locker room. There are security issues here. There are issues of potential sexual harassment with women, needing to be secure. So at Macy's, essentially right now, because of their stupid politically correct policies, women who go to Macy's or trying on clothes are put at risk because men can come in and use those same fitting rooms. Yeah,
this cross-dressing man told Natalie Johnson that he's female and said that he was obviously male, according to Natalie, and he was accompanied by 5 other individuals. The group argued with Natalie with explicatives, saying that Macy's is LGBT-friendly. And she also says that, these people went to the management. And then the management confronted Natalie and explained to Natalie that, in fact, according to Macy's LGBT policy, it allows, quote, transgender, close quote, people to change in any dressing room they want, that it's up to them as to which dressing room they want to go to. And they would not accommodate her common sense or her religious freedom, and they terminated Natalie Johnson right there from her job. I mean, I think most people, women particularly, but most people would say this is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not going to go to Macy's if I'm in the women's fitting room and some man comes in there. No matter what he says, no matter what he's wearing, I'm not going to go in there and have men go into the dressing room. This is fraught with problems. This is a recipe for sexual harassment, a recipe for rape. It's a recipe for intimidation. It is something that is absolutely absurd, and Macy's ought to change the policy to have a common sense policy. Now, we also find out that Macy's has apparently a consultant, and that consultant is an individual who has a company who was born female and then went through a sex change plastic surgery. That's all it is. It's plastic surgery.
It's cosmetic surgery.
It's cosmetic surgery and it's hormones. That's all it is, which is very risky, very unhealthy. And that individual now she identifies as a man. That's where Macy's is getting its consulting.
She drafted the
from
policy,
this particular individual. That's the person who works on this, drafted this policy.
And Natalie was clear. She made clear right up front that she's a Christian. That may have been a mistake on her part because we've seen hostility in the workplace at major Fortune 100, 500 companies around the country, especially when a person identifies that they're a Christian. However, Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act requires that Christians not be discriminated against, that people not be discriminated against based on their sincerely held religious beliefs. She said, this is a sincerely held religious belief I have. Well, in order to find a balance, the reasonable thing to do, and what Title VII requires is that people that a company accommodate a person's religious, deep, sincerely held religious beliefs. In this case, rather than firing Natalie, for instance, could Macy's have moved her over into the toys department? Could where there wouldn't be an issue relative to this insane policy that allows men to go into women's dressing rooms? That might have been a good start rather than doing what they've done.
Yeah, and the DSM-3, the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual, which psychiatrists and psychologists use, still has this gender identity or GID disorder classified as a mental illness. It's a mental disorder. It clearly is a mental disorder where someone who's clearly biologically and otherwise male now wants to consider themselves to be female. Yeah. It's no different than other disorders such as anorexia, bulimia. You look at the mirror, you think that you're overweight. You're really not, but you want to starve yourself so that you can lose weight. It's like apotemnophilia. You look at your body, you think that you are a disabled person inhabiting an abled body, and that you shouldn't have an arm or a leg. That's another psychiatric disorder, just like GID is a psychiatric disorder. To allow people to that small group, which is infinitesimally small, to then dictate this policy so that every woman has to put up with this kind of nonsense is ridiculous. And all you have to do, how are they going to question you? I mean, even if you're a man and you just want to visit the women's fitting room, and you're indisputably a male, and you don't even think that you want to identify as a female, but you want to walk into the women's fitting room, how are they going to figure that one out?
They can't, because it's fantasy versus reality.
It's all in your head.
The reality of a person's sex becomes irrelevant, and it's all subjective. It's entirely a subjective analysis. So the person need only say, hey, I feel like today maybe I think I want to be a woman. Not even necessarily having to present as a woman, wear dress, women's clothing or whatever. Just say, I'm a woman. Or here's how absurd they've gotten. You can say, I'm a woman trapped in a man's body, but I'm transgender, so I actually think I'm a man. But really, I mean, this stuff gets so confusing. I've said that it's George Orwell meets The Emperor Wears No Clothes.
It's insanity. In fact, we just recently saw. At Western Washington University there was a little pamphlet that someone brought to me, and it has LGBTQ, QI. And I had never seen the QI before, but it's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex. Now there's actually some additional ones. I know you're probably going to write a column on this. You need to. LGBTQ, QI, AAP, and that's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, ally, and pansexual. Try to figure that out. I mean, it's the whole alphabet soup. It's just insanity. The only thing that you don't see there is H. You don't see heterosexual there. But this whole agenda, the sexual anarchist agenda, is becoming absolutely absurd.
Yeah, no, it is. And you're mentioning the ever-growing acronyms that they're using.
We need to do a program just on that one time.
We do. It's an alphabet soup of just nonsense is what it is.
Well, Macy's needs to hear from you. And if you have a Macy's in your area, I would encourage you to call them, write them, email them, go into the store, and protest this particular policy, especially women and obviously men too. But go in there and protest this policy. You can take your clothes up to the women's fitting room and say, I understand that men can go in this fitting room, and if that's the case, just leave your clothes there and walk away. Do something that is demonstrable so that they get the message and they change this ridiculous policy. Give us a call at Liberty Counsel at 1-800-671-1776. Ask for the book Take Back America. That's the book Take Back America. And also We have a book from New Revolution Publishers, our publishing branch. Take Back America is one of our books, and the other one is The Lisa Miller Story, Only One Mommy by Rena Linda Volz. And you can order both of those books online at lc.org. Remember, Liberty Counsel, this time of year for your year-end contributions.